Let's talk about managed Java components. Now, more often than not, your apps will rely on other Java apps in the market for self-discovery, registration, monitoring, etc., etc. And chances are you're already running those apps today, and you probably would have to download them, build them, run them, and manage them similar to how you would run your other Java apps in the cloud. Now, good news is managed Java apps are now part of the Azure Container Apps product portfolio, and we will offload your responsibilities to manage those components so you can focus on your own application logic. Things like HA, version upgrades, patching for CVEs are now taken care of as part of the fully managed experience. We currently have two managed Java components in preview, a Eureka server for Spring as well as config server for Spring. We also have Spring Boot admin that is very close to be released and more to come in the near future. We're going to use a modified version of Pet Clinic to demonstrate managed Java components. This demo involves 4 steps. The first step is to create an Azure Container App environment. This is where the managed config service will live. The second step is to create the managed config service itself, and then we will connect the config service to a GitHub repository where we have configurations defined. And third is where we will create the modified version of the Pet Clinic app. And lastly, the final step is to bind the Pet Clinic app with the managed config service. So let's first head over to the code. We're looking at the owner's controller class in Pet Clinic, and we see that the number of owners that is displayed on the page is actually controlled by the page size variable. And what I've done is one trivial change is up in the class. I have set the page size to be defined by an add variable from a Spring property, and then this page size is going to be picked up by the values that I've configured in my application.yaml file in GitHub repository. Now onto the demo itself. I'm going to be doing this demo in the Azure CLI environment. The first step I do is I'm going to be setting a bunch of environment variables to name the app as well as the environment and the Java component itself. Okay, and then after that is remember the first step is to create the Azure Container App environment. Sorry, this is actually before that. I need a resource group, and then after now my resource group has been created, and now I can create the Azure Container App environment where the managed config service. All right, now the environment has been created. On to the second step. And here is where we are going to create the managed Java components. In this case, the Java component is the Spring Cloud Config service. And so a couple of things I want to point out. The first one is -- environment, because like I said, it needs to live in an Azure Container App environment. And we need to give it a name. But most importantly, notice this -- configuration springcloud.config.server.get URI. And so this is where we are going to connect the Spring Cloud Config service to my GitHub repository. $URI is the environment variable where I set in the very beginning. All right, so that has completed. Now on to the third step. In this step, we're going to create the Pet Clinic app itself. Now, for those of you who have seen the first episode in this video series, this is the same exact Azure CLI command that I used to deploy the jar file to Azure Container App using the Azure Container Apps cloud build process. So notice this -- artifact flag is where we tell Azure Container App Cloud Build where to pick up the jar file. And here You can see it's going through the various phases of the cloud build process. Okay, so the app deployment process is now complete. And here the prompt is telling us we can browse to our app from this URL. But before I do that, we have one last step, which is to bind the managed component to the app itself. And once this is complete, we can give it a test run and see how this works. That last step is now complete. Let me scroll up to grab the URL from the deployment step. Let me put this in my browser. Go to the owners page, find owners, and it displays 5 owners. This is because 5 is what I've set in my application.yaml. Let's do another test and change 5 to another number. Commit those changes. Come back to my app. Let me refresh the page. Find owners, fingers crossed, and I should only see 3 owners here. Find our documentation linked in the video description below and create your own managed Java components. If you like this video, make sure you check out others in the Java on Azure Container Apps video series. Thank you for watching and catch you in the next one.